So accessing, right? GP, we're going to access, it's a server client application. There is a web client. Most people don't use it, but it's, again, it's not a true cloud. You're still hosting that, whether you're hosting GP on your servers or with a private cloud or with Azure. Any of those are options, but again, it's not a true cloud. I can't just open GP in any browser and connect from anywhere, right, without having to go through some other connection means. Business Central, again, true cloud, anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet access. Now, for some people, it's can be a concern, right? If you're in an area of the country where you don't have solid internet access all the time, then you need to make sure that you have redundancy, because otherwise you'd lose access to your system, right? There is the option for Business Central to be run on premise, but that really limits the functionality that you're going to have. It's a lot harder, and of course you're responsible for your upgrades. So it really doesn't make sense for most people to run BC on-prem. So GP, you can have multiple databases / companies, right? So you basically, there's really, I don't know that there's a limit on the number of companies. It's really just horsepower on the servers and disk space and such as the number of companies for GP. So that's been a big selling point for GP. And without multi-entity management, MEM, or a product like MEM for GP, then users would have to log in and out of every company, right? Whereas in the case of if you had MEM, then it would basically just be a login right here. You would just click it and you would automatically switch companies. So when it comes to companies that we have some clients that are running 50 companies in GP, they're in one database, right? The user just jumping back and forth between, and they can even do it on a single transaction. So it's very popular with some of the cloud products out there. Like Jen had mentioned earlier, Acumatica, that is one of its features. They'll do that within the product. Business Central does not do that out of the box, but multi-entity management is available for Business Central. So if you do have a lot of companies and you want to make that efficient connections, so when I'm looking at Business Central, right, it used to be that you had to go up to your settings here, and then you would change which company you were in. But now you can just click this button here, and it'll show you your available companies. You can just switch to it. So they've made that easier. So you are able to switch, and again, you can have, Microsoft says up to 300 companies in which are, again, they're not truly separate databases, but they are separate companies that you would see in this list here. And then you'd have to search for that company that you're looking to get into without multi-entity management added to it. Multi-entity management adds functionality such as you can have intercompany balancing, right? So do to froms automatically happening between those companies and things of that nature. So you definitely have the ability to add that to Business Central. For anybody that's familiar with Binary Stream, they've been in the GP space forever, and then they moved over to the Business Central space, and they've been in that space since Business Central has been around. Again, GP requires Binary Stream multi-entity management. Anybody that's interested in that, there's a link here, and then link to Business Central. Similarly, there is another product out there that would add some of the functionality that MEM does to BC, but in either case, you just if you need it, you can do it. Otherwise, you'd be setting up separate companies. It is easy to copy companies and create new companies in Business Central. Again, it is going to count against your storage space. And when we're talking about storage space, in addition to having your primary production tenant there, when we talk about an upgrade for an update or upgrade, however you want to refer to it, Business Central, when if you were to want to request a sandbox of Business Central so that we can start testing against the new version before it actually gets rolled into your production environment, which I certainly always suggest, then that does count against your total storage. So if I've got, again, that example, I have 100 gigabytes of storage and my current production database grows to be 60 gigabytes, then I would not be able to get a sandbox without first either decreasing my storage usage or acquiring more space, more disk space, available space from Microsoft for your license. So keeping that in mind, very different than obviously GP. All right, so navigation, home pages, GP modules. Again, right? I'm sure everybody's aware of how GP does this, but for anybody that doesn't use it, because some of the old users really don't use the navigation panes much. So we've got these workspaces over here. I still see users that go up here every time and navigate through the tree. Again, the cards, again, you have navigation this way, you've got navigation this way, which puts everything in front of you. And of course you can toggle these, kind of control some of the layout. Within this, you also have these navigation lists on the left, which are pretty powerful when it comes to GP. I mean, there's some real functionality in here for some of these, right? I mean, I like the general ledger batches. I can see all the batches and I can go ahead and select the ones I want, and I can then post from here. I can review them. So just a lot of capabilities. You can add as many searches, criteria here as you want, where in smart lists, obviously you're limited to 4. So there's definitely a lot of functionality in here when you're navigating through GP. But again, it's this same user interface. It's not going to change. We're talking about navigating in BC. We're really talking about, first off, what is my my default block up top here. So BC, we've got this top bar, right? And at the top, you have this search, what they call tell me what to do search. And then just recently, Microsoft has added Copilot to BC as well to help find what you're looking for, as well as help give you information, things of that nature. So we're jumping into BC and we're looking at how do I find something. You know, this up here is determined by my role. So when I go into my settings, right now I'm selected as the business manager, but if I were the accountant, right, then this top bar is going to change based on that selection, right? So really kind of focusing what is available based on, you know, what role I represent in the company. If I want to get back to my settings quickly, I'll just hit an Alt-T, which will get me back to the settings. I'm going to go back to my business manager role for a moment. And you can see Business Central, the demo data, Kronos, is very similar to what GP has and the demo data. And of course, they lock it, that date to 5/1/2024. So if you're wondering why you might see something on today going through it, you're going to see that date 5/1/2024. But across the top here, you've got these trees, right? It's kind of like GP where you can navigate purchasing, right? I want to see purchase orders. I can navigate there that way. Honestly, I think that a lot of people use it. The tell me what to do. And so if I just type vendors, right, I'm going to see different selections here of different options of what I can do, right? So here are my pages and tasks, right? And if I show all 11, then I can see, okay, I can go to the vendors list, vendor templates, so forth and so on, right? Then we get down here and these are all the reports that we have available that have a reference to vendor, right? And so minimize that. Show less, you know, get into, again, more reporting, and then you could even search help, right? So that's going to jump out to Microsoft and pull up help about vendors. So again, this little tell me what to do is a really powerful little tool to be able to find where you want to go more quickly. I can also mark my favorites, right? So if I'm continually going to favorites, then that's this little guy over here, which is a bookmark. In GP, we have favorites as well, where you can add things to your homepage, right? So, you know, for users that are using that homepage, I go back to my homepage, which can hit the Dynamics back here, home. Thank you. So here are quick links, right? These are essentially what people consider favorites, is quick links, right? You can have favorites within your smart list as well, but you can edit these quick links and basically build out what is you want to have access to quickly. So in BC, if I go back to my homepage, similar to GP, I click the company name here, it takes me back to my homepage, and I'll have my favorites available. So as I scroll down, you can see it's presenting lots of different information on the screen. So again, pretty powerful as far as being able to find things through different means. Again, not similar navigation. Most people are not navigating through the trees as much because it's just it's easier to search for it and find it, or mark it as a tag, so that way I can get back to it more quickly. A bookmark. So Copilot, that's been recently introduced. I'm sure everybody's probably seen Copilot little logos all over the place from Microsoft. They're really getting behind the AI influence here. So if I were to go into Copilot, it's going to basically, what do I want to do? Do I want to find? Do I want to have it explain something? So if I were to just go down here and say vendors, right, it's going to go out there and search. It does say preview here because they're still building that functionality out, but it has been added to many of the screens. So it can be a little slow. It's not quite there yet, but it definitely is what they're doing. They're adding. So here you're saying, so if I were to type in Copilot Fabricam or I guess graphic design maybe, because I don't know anything else, it's going to go out and it's going to search the system and find that information. Copilot's also very powerful when it comes to being able to kind of, the idea behind it is to use it to leverage what if. So you basically say, show me my top vendors, right? And it's going to go and try and analyze your that request. And so here it found graphic design. If I want to view the vendor card, I can jump into it again. So that's really where Microsoft is going with their navigation, is to really use the Copilot AI to really be able to enhance finding what you're looking for inside of BC. And of course, you can see it's keeping track of these. So if I were to go back to Copilot and ask it, top vendors, again, it's going to go through the data and try and figure out who is my top vendors based on just that simple ask, right? If I said, how much open AP do I have this month? Again, the idea is it's going to go and try and tell you that. So you're not having to do that research yourself even. That's really where it's going. I'll let it queue that up. Did it come back? Found 6 vendors in total. These are top vendors. So it's basically picking out my top vendors here. So that's how it would present. And again, if I click on these, I can jump right into that. And Microsoft is adding this to Outlook, really Office, Excel, and they're really trying to really embed Copilot everywhere, really leverage that AI functionality. Again, so GP's navigation lists, like I mentioned, have lots of functionality. Not a lot of people, because they were added after the fact, to use a lot of them, but they definitely, have a lot of functionality. Again, you get in here. Some of them can be a little slow, but definitely when you get in there is where you kind of get the similar feel that if you have Business Analyzer turned on, then it will give you some of the same presentations, kind of like you have in BC, right? So it's over here. It's showing some metrics. It's not really showing anything there on that item, but again, the idea here is going to customers, and maybe that's a better choice. Again, you've got, as long as you have that Business Analyzer turned on in GP, you're going to get that data over here. And these are, so you can get some KPI metrics based on that given customer and so forth. So when it comes to BC, again, similar idea. I'm going to close that down. And we have the information panes. So I'll go back to my vendors. And if I'm on the details tab, you can see all of this information is now filtered for that given vendor, right? So as I'm switching between vendors, I'm getting that information. If I see the balance here and I want to drill into that balance, I can go ahead and click on it. It's going to show me those open entries that are still sitting out there for that vendor. So that's how you're really navigating. Amount received, not invoiced. Again, you've got links to this, so similar in GP, but you'd have to go and search those typically through SmartList or run a report. Here you've got those that information pane right at your fingertips, be able to get there quickly. When it comes to attachments, you have the ability to attach. BC has pop-up notes as well, things of that nature that you can activate. Home pages in GP, obviously limited configurability, but you do have it. With Business Central, you have profiles, which basically are the roles that can be personalized. But then when we get into BC, this is where it really gets interesting, is when we go to personalize. Let's say, let me pull up a vendor here, or let me start the list actually. And I go up here and I'll say personalize, as long as I have the ability to do so. I can now move fields around. I can add fields. So if I could plus field up here, and the field exists and it's not on this main list for my vendors, and I can go ahead and add that. So jump up in there, blocked is now a column, right? Close out of that, it's done. And now that's a permanent change that I'm making. So if I go into the screens themselves, you have similar abilities to personalize the screens. So if the field exists, then you can add it. So, and you can kind of control how these screens show. So let me first go into show less, show more. And if I click on any one of these fields, you have options here, right? So can I hide it? Do I want to move it? Do I want to show under the show more, which means it gets hidden unless I expand it? The show more, show less, right? So there's the show more, showing these fields. And again, there might be fields that are not on this screen that I might want to add. So if I had name 2 for whatever reason, I can drag it on there. And now I've got a field. And again, you can move fields around. If I don't want to see a field, I can take it off. Nope, not that way. Don't drag it, take it off, hide. And then there's this other option on these fields. So when you show less, in some of the areas like this one that's completely collapsed, what does it show up here, right? So that way the key information you want to see immediately, that without having to click, you have control over that as well. So that is the option of just say homepage. Go here and show when collapsed. I'll collapse it. And now I've just added that as well to the collapsed presentation. So again, much more configurable without doing true customizations, to be able to add fields, take fields away, add them to grids. As long as those fields exist, again, you're able to do that type of configuration. So pretty cool functionality they keep adding to BC's interface to be able to do those kinds of things and make it more user friendly, make the data show where you want it to show, the ones that's important to you, right? You don't have to work with, exactly where Microsoft placed those fields. You have the ability to configure that. So the action queues, another piece. So GP has, if I go back to my homepage, right, we've got Business Analyzer, we've got these to-dos, which are basically smart lists, right? You just tell it how you want to present it, and then you've got these, and this is essentially as close as you're going to get to an actionable tile, right? So are these, but these are actually click-throughs. This is Business Analyzer up here, where you've got all these different metrics, KPIs, right, that are showing if you've got it turned on, but these are not drill through clickable, right? Get into BC and any of the modern platforms. Go back to my homepage. So I'm going to back up. So you see when you click into a screen, typically, if you want to go back to where you were, you just use your back where here. You do have the option of pop out a screen, again, which is handy when it comes to being able to, like, I want to work on this vendor, but I get a phone call and I'm still on that vendor card. I can just drag that off to my other screen, go maybe to search what I'm looking for, go back to my homepage, but it's going to retain that open tab on the other side, so I can always come back and continue to work on that. So you can pop out screens from BC, and basically you're then able to have multiple screens open, right? In GP, I can't have more than one vendor card open at a time. Basically any master record card, I can't, or transaction for matter. The one I'm working on is the one I have open, and that's the only one. I gotta go back to the other ones. So these tiles, right? These are built-in tiles, and they're actionable, they're clickable. So, right, if I want to see my maybe my open purchase orders, right, I click the tile, it's going to bring me back to that list. So helpful that these are actionable, right? You can see all the different types. Business Central has full approvals built into it. Obviously, GP added approvals in more later releases. You know, so our workflows in GP are certainly, you know, have been added, and Microsoft did add those. It's just, this is a little more full featured. It's not, so if you add on for GP for, you know, approvals and things like that, then, you know, you might also want to have an add-on for PC, because, you know, but you have to evaluate what is the need of your approvals and how complicated or simple is it. All of these metrics down here, again, Microsoft has been adding and trying to get everything to be clickable, right? So click through, getting you to that data more quickly. So quick links, smart list as reminders. Again, if you're not using that, it's definitely a big positive. Business Central allows users to bookmark their favorites, which adds them to the home page. The search commonly used for navigating, right, to your screens, your list, your reports. And it does allow those pop-out windows to be able to do multiple windows at a given time. So again, recap, GPs, we got our navigation, our home button here. Here we've got our nav bar across the top, right, with our favorites being listed as well. And then again, the home page is accessed here. Here we're going to the company. So again, similar in some ways, but still different. All right. Those Business Central cues / tiles, live clickables. So again, here an example in the slide, overdue purchase documents. Click it, it's going to open up that list. You'll see that list, open up any of those transactions. Again, similar to a smart list, but different. So that tells me what to do. Search your screens, tasks, lists, reports, documentation. Again, you can bookmark those. So, you know, pay a vendor, if I want to bookmark that, then I just click it, and now it's going to be bookmarked. Right. So that's, again, trying to get you that short list of things that are you're focused on as a user. So bookmark access, you're going to see those across the menu at the top, and those pop-out screens.